Um, on behalf of Northants Buddhist Meditation Center, my name is Bob, and I'd like to welcome those listening in on Kettering General Hospital Radio. And this will be the first of monthly recordings like this to be shared with patients and staff and anyone else who wishes to hear this. So I thought I would start off, as this is going to be suitable for both Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike, those who have absolutely no idea what Buddhism is, as well as those who may be very knowledgeable. I thought I'd start off with talking about what is Buddhism. So there is a stereotypic view that Buddhism involves these people in robes and wearing various beads and sitting in contemplation, this sort of thing. Well, of course, these are facets that are true, but of course, the Buddhist way of life or the Buddhist practice is a little bit separate. It does involve, of course, monks and nuns and people sitting in caves in meditation. But what Buddhism really is a method. And it's debatable whether or not it's a religion, but it is a faith. There is a faith in the teachings of the Buddha. And after I complete the short talk I'm going to give, my friend and center member Jeff will talk about who is Buddha, who was Buddha. And for now, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the features of Buddhism that are not, strictly speaking, a religion. The faith is that we believe in certain teachings that were written down from Buddha's talks. But like a practice such as I'll mention yoga, although there are actually connections. What I mean to say is that Buddhism is an activity. It's a method for achieving a particular goal. And in this case, in the case of Buddhism, it is to achieve an understanding of how things truly exist. The Buddha taught, his first teaching was that there is suffering. And a lot of people think, gosh, is this what this thing is about, Buddhism, suffering? But in fact, we know that there is suffering in many different forms. We suffer because we're unwell, we suffer because of heartbreak, we suffer because of bereavements, the changes in circumstances, and so and so. And the methods that were taught and are practiced and have been practiced for over 2,500 years are ones to enable us to be liberated from this perpetual cycle of suffering that we experience. So we will have periods of very good times, wonderful times, happy, prosperous, etc., etc. But then that changes. Maybe the circumstances themselves change. We lose the money, we lose the partner, or our attitude towards these things change. And in each case, it brings about some degree, and in some cases, a very high degree of suffering. So Buddhism is a method, an activity, if you like, that enables us to deal with this and achieve lasting happiness. So how do we go about that? Well, our experience has been, to date, most of our lives, to look outside of ourselves for happiness, for sources of comfort, be it relationships, be it material acquisitions, feeling secure as a result of our external circumstances. But of course, these change. And what Buddha taught in his first teaching, not just there is suffering, but he also explained what the causes of suffering are. And the causes of suffering are primarily our attachment to the things that we see as being important. We're attached to the relationship, we're attached to the material things, but they change, as we know. The material things deteriorate, relationships change, we change, and so it goes on. So if we reflect on a situation where we have maybe longed for a holiday, as I think many people will be. So people are really looking forward to being, I don't know, let's say at the beach and sitting or lying in the sun and blah, blah, blah. Let's reflect on these sort of experiences that we know we've had. We lie there basking in the sun or the view or whatever it is, and we have this drink we've ordered next to us and blah, blah, blah. But the drink is a little bit out of reach. It's not quite where we want it, so we move it. In other words, there's a restlessness. There is a nub of dissatisfaction that accompanies us throughout our lives, however good things are. And so the methods of Buddhism, the method that I'm referring to, that it's an activity, are about confronting these attitudes that we hold and attempting to change them. And at the heart of it is, or the heart of Buddhism is, the view that we can all change. Oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Of course you can. The change lies with us, firstly, looking within. So meditation, as you've probably already realized, is an aspect, a practice. What is meditation? Firstly, it is relaxing. And my colleague, friend Jeff will lead us through a practice of relaxation. It is stilling the body and it is stilling the mind. We then, by stilling the mind, we notice that thoughts come and go, that thoughts are always there. We know we think, but we're not necessarily aware of the amount of thoughts that pass through our heads, through our minds all day and throughout the night, of course, when we dream. And so by being still, by being able to observe the activity of mind, we get a certain insight. And that is what Buddhism is about, getting insights. And the ultimate insight is the insight into the nature of our minds. We call it Buddha mind. The Buddha mind is really the natural state of mind that every single living being has. We do not have to get it from outside. We do not have to buy it or save up for it or go on journeys for it. It is with us. But as Buddha pointed out, by the way, Buddha, as Jeff will tell you, was a human being. He wasn't a deity, a god. He was a human being. It was you and I who was able to realize his natural Buddha mind, the Buddha mind that we all have, and in fact, all living beings have. But humans have a certain advantage, and we'll talk about it in future broadcasts about these aspects. But for now, I will come to a conclusion on this. Buddhism is it's debatable whether it's a religion or not. It doesn't have a God. We don't have to pray to some external thing to be saved. Buddhism is about relying on ourselves to win freedom from the perpetual cycle of, let's say, bliss and happiness, satisfactoriness and unhappiness. It is breaking through that and finding a lasting happiness that is not subjected to these ways. So I'll leave it there. We shall resume again in a month's time on the same tack. And now I'd like to hand you over to Jeff Warren. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, just like to say good evening to everybody and hope you're all well. So as Bob said, I'm just going to talk a little bit about who was the Buddha, and I think I can also say who is the Buddha. So historically, the Buddha was born about 2,500 years ago at a place called Lumbini. It's now in Nepal. It's right on the border with northern India. And he was born as a prince of the Sakya clan. So he was born a wealthy prince, but he realized that although he could have everything he wanted in a material sense, he became aware of suffering. And he realized that he would have to leave it all behind. And he decided to pursue the path of truth. And this was after he saw the poverty and sickness beyond the palace walls. So this led him to drop his birth name, which had been Siddhartha Gautama. So at the time of Buddha, Buddha's quest for enlightenment, there were many religious practices at that time that called for either intense overindulgence in the senses or strict deprivation or asceticism, such as weeks of fasting. But then he realized that neither of these methods were truly beneficial. So he devised something that became known as the middle way to enlightenment. This was a balanced approach that emphasized inward rather than outward renunciation. So the Buddhist path is an inward path. So to achieve enlightenment, young Siddhartha vowed to sit under a fig tree, that's a sacred Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya, and to meditate until it transcended suffering. In other words, he overcame his delusions. And at the end of an extremely long meditation, a mental battle with Mara, the god of desire, I think in our terms as Westerners, we'd say the god of desire is our delusions. He became awakened and was then known as the Buddha. So the term Buddha is a Sanskrit word. It just means a person who is awoken from the dream of samsara, cyclic existence. So there have been countless Buddhas. We have the Buddhist seed, we have the seed to find enlightenment, to wake up from this dream of samsara. So practicing Buddhists, as Bob says, we view the Buddha as a teacher and not as a god or an avatar. So I think Buddhism is a very tolerant religion. You're not actually obliged to believe anything. In fact, the Buddha said, don't believe this just because I've taught it. Meditate upon it. Come to your own conclusion. That's really the way to develop our awareness, to become enlightenment. So the Buddha taught and traveled for his entire life until about the age of 80 when he passed away. His final request to his followers was this: all component things in the world are changeable. They are not lasting. Work hard to gain your own salvation. So the prime method that the Buddha taught was meditation. So at this stage, I'd like to do a short meditation practice. I think this can be described as a short relaxation meditation where we focus on the breath. So I think we all know that when we feel anxious, our breathing tends to be very fast, very shallow. When we're relaxed, our breathing, it slows down, it becomes deeper. We feel more peaceful. So there's a very strong connection between our physical breath and our mental state, how concentrated, how relaxed we are, and so forth. So for the benefit of those who perhaps haven't meditated before, I'll just talk a little bit about the posture that we need to adopt. So if we're sitting in a chair, if you just get in a comfortable posture in the chair with your feet flat on the ground, check that your spine is nice and straight but not tense. Slightly tilt the head forward. Hold the hands in the lap. The right hand resting in the palm of the left and the thumbs lightly touching. And if you wish to, you can lightly close the eyes. And just notice the feeling of pressure where your body touches the chair. And for the next few minutes, we're going to forget any distracting thoughts. And just bring our attention inwards. The first thing we need to do is to just relax any tension in the body. So if you bring your focus to the crown of the head, and just slightly work down your body, feeling for any tension. Where you feel tension, we hold a lot in the forehead. Visualize the muscles expand and relax to release any tension. It flows down our face, down the back of the head, down the neck, into the shoulders. Allow the shoulders to drop slightly, release any tension. Feel that it flows down the arms, into the hands. Visualize the tension disappears through the tips of the fingers and melts into emptiness. Allow the shoulder blades to relax, the spine, the chest and the stomach, the pelvic area, the thighs, the calves. Feel all the tension of the body flow down the body into the feet. Visualize that it flows out the soles of the feet to the ground below and melts into emptiness. Just notice this nice feeling of warmth and lightness in the body. So having relaxed the body, we now need to calm and pacify the mind. And to do this, we focus on the breath. So we bring our attention to the tip of the nose. And we just observe the feeling of the breath as it enters and leaves the nostrils. Notice the slight coolness of the in-breath, slight warmth of the out-breath. Don't force the breath, just allow it to come naturally. Notice how the stomach rises with a natural rhythm of the breath. As we breathe out, we visualize that we breathe out all of our worries, all of our negativities, all of our concerns in the form of thick black smoke. Visualize that this leaves through our nostrils, travels to the far distance, and melts into emptiness. As we breathe in, we visualize that we breathe in pure white, radiant light. This light enters through our nostrils and completely fills our body and mind with pure white, radiant light. Our body and mind are filled with the love and blessings of the Buddha. So you don't have to be a Buddhist to do this practice. You can visualize that you're filled with the blessings of Jesus Christ or Mohammed or Vishnu, or just the blessings of the universe. So we breathe in pure white radiant light. We breathe out black smoke. We now believe that all our negativity has disappeared and our body and mind are completely filled with pure white radiant light. We can visualize this. We're completely filled with the love, blessings and compassion of the Buddha. We just enjoy this feeling of peace and happiness. If we lose this image, we just carry out the previous steps. We breathe out black smoke, breathe in pure white radiant light. This feeling of peace is the object of our meditation. We try to hold on to it. This is the true nature of our mind. This is always with us if we can find it. However turbulent the outside world, we can always find this inner peace if we seek it and then we try to hold it. We're completely filled with pure, white, radiant light, the bliss of all the Buddhas. Out of meditation, we try to keep this feeling with us. We try to remember it. We try to be kind to everyone we meet, human or animal. We try to be of service to others. We remember this feeling of peace, this wonderful, white, radiant light. So we now just slowly relax our concentration. Slowly move our fingers and toes. Open our eyes. Bring our awareness back into our room. So we try to remember this feeling of peace and keep it with us as long as we can. Thank you very much. So I'd now like to hand back to Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I would like to, if I may, add that, of course, this can be done sitting up in bed or even lying in bed. So don't feel you have to clamber out. And as I said earlier, we look forward to doing this again. Well, not the same thing again. We'll have something more next time, but in a month's time. And in the meantime, may goodness prevail and that everyone may overcome their suffering or at least be able to face it. Goodbye till next month.